You got to be open-minded. Simple as that. You've got to leave your ego at the door and say, what I've done, I'm a sum total today of everything that I've done thus far. Am I happy with that? Yes or no? And if you're not, then it's time to just go and put your ego aside, because it's not that impressive anyway, perhaps. And really just start looking at for what it is. And this is where someone else shining a light on your situation can help a lot. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name's Max, I'm your host. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to you if it's your first time, because I've had a little bit of contact with some folks just recently that said, I've just found your podcast. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. But also a big thank you and a big shout out to all of our long-term listeners. It's great to have you along for the ride, which sometimes it's a roller coaster, the construction business. So I'm really blessed and humbled to be able to sort of speak a few of my truths and also help you out in the building and the development of your business as well. So I really enjoy it. Hey, look, as usual, like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, and be sure to just leave us a few comments if you've got some questions about some of the content. And also, if you need to get a hold of me and you've got some, you want to reach out and get in contact with me, you can do that on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. Now, alternatively, obviously, as you may or may not know, I've just launched an international business coaching business. And so elitebusinessadvisory.com is a place where you can go to check out the coaching side of what I do. Be sure to hit me up on email. There you can just hit the contact button and you can reach out to me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com, if you've got any questions regarding coaching. More exciting is that if you're really keen, and I know I had this on Sunday, had a bit of a shout out on Instagram from a gentleman in New Zealand, and it was Sunday my time, and I just quickly, he reached out with a bit of a comment and needed some advice. And so I got him to hit me up on WhatsApp. And so there is definitely a direct line. I've got my cell phone right here. If you go to elitebusinessadvisory.com, there's a cell number that's on that website, and that is my WhatsApp number. So just putting it out there. This guy contacted me. I said, look, let's just jump on a quick call. And we really did discover a lot, and we did make a lot of ground in a phone call, and I'm happy to do that. Obviously, there's going to be a tipping point at some point where I'm not going to be able to get to everybody, and I apologize in advance. But for those early adopters who have just found out about this and you want to have a one-on-one chat with me, I'm sort of happy to do that. It'd be better if we could do a Zoom call. So go to elitebusinessadvisory.com, hit the book a consultation button. You'll get 30 minutes of my time. No obligation, and just you could shoot the shit with me for 30 minutes about what you want to do in the business sector. But I'm very pumped about what's happening in the coaching side of life right now, helping some great people. So today, actually the other thing is too, our Business for Builders VIP. Be sure to shoot across there if you're a good sort. I'll let you in. And we're all about building community and develop some collaborative efforts there in and amongst the building game, because I think it lacks a lot. We're a lot of islands, us builders and general contractors running around. So I think it's excellent if we can get together and just shoot the shit and talk about some of the challenges that we're facing, and even share some of the wins that we're having and what's working. That's always interesting. There is plenty of opportunity out there for all of us. Okay, so this morning I'm going to quickly talk about it's funny because I'm just like, yep, I've just started a coaching business. And yet for 4 or 5 years, I've been coaching general contractors in a franchise or capacity. Pretty excited about that. And so to really throw it out there to the open, the global community of general contractors is pretty exciting for me. So I really, I don't know that anything that I'm saying is what I've been saying is pretty much in line with, coaching protocol, business development, strategic planning, all those kinds of things, systems and processes and software and God knows what. We're at episode, what did you just say, 147? It's like this is not our first rodeo. We're talking a couple of years, coming up to 3 years based on 150 odd episodes. So, I really want to get specific because there is some of you that are going to put your hand up and go, Max, I really would enjoy, having your coaching and mentoring, and I would enjoy, working with you on that. Up to this point, everything I've done is for free. Elite Business Advisory is a coaching and mentoring program that is, a fee-for-service type business. So I would like to think that we can, by working together in a coaching and mentoring situation, that we can improve. We can actually uncover the profit that you keep stepping over in your business every day. That really is what it comes down to. When I started working with these guys here in Canada, because of the fact is that, as a franchisor, there's also all sorts of fees and other costs incurred. So you can't just go out there and mark up by 15% and, a franchise business like this work. You've got to be able to demonstrate value not only to the general contractor franchisees, but you've got to be able to then help the franchisees demonstrate value in the marketplace. And so that is why, the majority of our builders are recommended that they mark up a minimum of 41% so that they enjoy a net profit percentage or a net gross profit of about 30% in the renovation and remodeling sector. If you're in the new home sector, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be slightly less, but your contract values are normally up. So, what I'm trying to do is really, extend to the open market of general contractors the possibility. And then certainly what that segues into, if you're in Canada particularly, but if you're in Australia and New Zealand, there's opportunity for that coaching for 6 months will qualify you as a prerequisite or a pre-qualifier to, looking or chatting with us about the purchase of a Smith & Sons franchise. If you're in the United States, we are set there to go. We were sort of positioned there before COVID, and then we sort of backed off of that for obvious reasons. But if you're in the States and you're keen to get amongst some coaching and then maybe segue into the possibility of a franchise, I'd be really cool if I can have a chat with you. So shoot across there to Elite Business Advisory. But the coaching side of it is what I've been doing, both to you guys on air here as well as with my general contractors in Smith & Sons. And so today I'm just going to break down what is coaching, what is it that I do in my day job with my Smith & Sons general contractors, and what can you expect if you were to engage me as your business coach. And so the three things that business coaching is: it's awareness, it's education, and it's accountability. And it's super important that we try and simplify our understanding of certain, processes within our life, because otherwise it gets too overwhelming, and we discard it and we throw it out and we step over it. And so, I think what we don't want to do is overcomplicate stuff. I know for me, I remember struggling in elementary school or primary school. I certainly didn't do much better in high school, and it was all about comprehension. He doesn't comprehend. And it was just like, dude, I'm not built to sit in a classroom. I didn't know that back then, but I certainly was always looking out the window going, I'd rather be kicking a ball or doing something else. And so, I think it comes down to, understanding yourself and where you fit in. So, I think when it comes to developing your business, your construction business now, whether you're a subcontractor, the principles will absolutely apply. There's no question. But certainly, I think there's some limitations on you if you're a subcontractor. But if you're a general contractor or you're a company that can work directly with the end user, there's massive amounts of potential, and I think there's a lot of profit left on the table. So, I think awareness, education, and accountability are really what sums up, business coaching for me and what I do with my general contractors. So, let's kick off awareness. You're like, well, what does that exactly mean? What do you mean awareness? Well, I'm talking about personal and professional. I think that there's things in you that either make you attractive or repellent. And when I say attractive, I'm not talking about your hairdo or your cologne. I'm talking about the person. I'm talking about you right now. And so, you can meet people for the first time. I can hear people on the phone or on a video call, and I'm like, I get off that call and I'm like, they're a really good human. That is where I don't quite know what that is, but I feel it. I feel it. And so, I think that we want to be that type of attractive person, both personally and professionally, to allow us the ability to, because it's all about people. It's funny, we're like a lot of my life, most of my life, between business partners, family, franchisors, what they struggle with clients and homeowners, really to be successful in this construction business, because that's all I can speak to, because that's all I've been involved with for 34 years, is it's humans. And I'm telling you, when it goes well, humans, it's awesome. But I tell you, when it doesn't go well, it's not awesome. Let's just say that. And so, I think when we know that we want good subcontractors and we want good suppliers and we want great clients and we want good workers and, we want a great, partner in life and all this sort of stuff, I think what it comes down to is back to me as a person. Am I attractive or am I repellent? And they're the only two options. You're either repelling, your personality is either repellent, and people put up with you for a little bit of time or not at all, and then they discard you and they move on and they avoid you because maybe you're too negative, whatever the case may be. But then there's other, sides where you're positive. And so, we want to really pay attention to both personal and professional, because it is who you are. And so if you're not attractive personally, then professionally it's probably going to carry across. And so it's just interesting to be aware of how that really does affect you in your business process. Now, the other side, so personal and professional skills, you got to have an awareness. That means you've got to listen to your intuition and you've got to be honest with yourself. But the other side of this is you've got to be aware of where your lack is in your business. So my goal as a franchisor or as a business coach, which is basically both is the same thing when I'm dealing with GCs, I don't see many different, is that we've got to have an understanding of where there is gaps in our traffic. So, just recently I've had the joy of sitting down with a few brand new elite business clients, and it's really exciting. And I was on a call yesterday and we jammed for 2 and a bit hours, 2 and a quarter, 2.5 hours. And it really did go fast because I was doing such exploratory surgery into, I think he's a great human, but I was really getting interested in getting to know all of the systems within his business. And so, I think we've got to have an awareness, because sometimes we think we're doing okay. What's wrong with me? Everything's going fine, isn't it? When it's really not. And so I think when we're talking, you've got to have this ability. And so without someone just bringing things to your attention. So, hey, what do you do for sales? What's your sales system look like? Is it documented? What do you mean? Right? I'm like, okay, there's a project. What about your marketing? What sort of content marketing you do? I don't even know what that is. So there's what I'm doing as a general contractor. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff that we do for our GCs in Smith & Sons, which they don't need to pay attention to, they don't need to do, because a lot of that, and particularly the content marketing side, is handled by corporate office here. And so, but if you're running your own business and you're asking me what content marketing is, I'll tell you what content marketing is. It is the most powerful tool that you can use to build a reputation in your town and in your area as the authority based on what you already do. And so content marketing, so you need to go away. And matter of fact, I've got some books here which I'm going to roll into, because when I start talking about education, leaders are readers, folks. The more you learn, the more you earn. And so, back to awareness. But if you don't know what content marketing is, if you're still estimating and quoting off the back of Excel spreadsheets, if you don't understand that there's what we call in the sales process where it moves from selling to closing, and what triggers, or how do I identify when a client has just moved from the inquisitive sales process into a position where you now might be able to close that deal, and how do you close? And you don't really understand the techniques that are around that. Then you lack self-awareness in the areas of sales and closing, and then of course in ordering and construction. And the more I get into it, seeing how other guys do it from a business coach / franchisor situation, the more frustrated I can become, because I'm like, you say that you're good at construction, but you do this, And so, guys and girls, I think we've got to be very aware of where our deficiencies are. And so, what we're talking about, I think, is when we're talking about awareness, is when I sit there with a brand new client, I am doing an unofficial gap analysis. I'm looking, where is the blind spots? Where is the shadows within this guy or gal's thinking as it relates to their business? Because they're the spots that we really need to bring up to speed. Now, in some cases, these folks that I chat with, they've got an element of there's some things that are together, but there's a lot of stuff that's still outstanding. And so, something you could do if you wanted to. And normally I ask for this prior to our complimentary coaching session, is that you shoot across to elitebusinessadvisory.com and hit the scorecard tab. And the scorecard tab, what that does is that's a bit of a prerequisite to you and I getting together for a complimentary, no obligation, 1 hour coaching session. And what that does is it covers 21 of the silver bullets that we use to fill the gaps within our clients and our franchisees' businesses. And so you might want to get across there to click on scorecard. I take care of all of the, the behind the scenes stuff as it relates to Elite Business. So what that does is it asks you 21 questions about 21 subjects where you're either doing it well or you're not doing it well. And that helps me. It's literally a scorecard, and I sit down in the 60-minute meeting and we speak to the things that maybe aren't you doing so well. Hey, I don't have a clue about content marketing or lead generation, that sort of thing. And so it really does highlight where your deficiencies are, and essentially that scorecard is a type of gap analysis, because it really figures out what you're doing well and maybe what you're not doing so well. So they're the areas of awareness you got to have. And folks, you've got to leave your ego at the door. There's no question. In this case, as it relates to learning and growing, you've got to have high levels of humility, because when you say, "Oh no, that's not me," it immediately that's an immediate interrupter. It's going to stop you from. You got to be open-minded. Simple as that. You've got to leave your ego at the door and say, "What I've done." I'm a sum total today of everything that I've done thus far. Am I happy with that? Yes or no? And if you're not, then it's time to just go and put your ego aside, because it's not that impressive anyway, perhaps. And really just start looking at for what it is. And this is where someone else shining a light on your situation can help a lot. And so it's super important. Right. Second point here, education. And there's really 3 parts to the education process. Well, there's 2 parts, and then there's a sub part I don't know what I'm banging on about there, but really what we're talking about is initial and ongoing. I know to sit a general contractor or a builder in a classroom, or even to sit you down for 60 minutes while you've got all kinds of shit going on a building site or what have you, it's hard to get your concentration for 60 minutes, let alone 4 days. And so the initial training, which is absolutely important, we have to do that. As franchisors, we need to make sure that we have got some semblance of understanding of our systems and processes and what's important and how we do things, and create efficiencies and really lean on the lean system. We want to make sure that there's not a wasted motion, that we're acting very efficiently in our execution, all those kinds of things. But it is a massive download of information, and it's countless times I'm like, why did you just do that, Mr. Builder? We talked about this in training, and they're like, I don't remember. And I'm like, no shit. And so there's a need for refreshers and ongoing and consistency in coaching to ensure that you as the client or the franchise general contractor or the builder, you make sure that you everything that's important as it happens. So there's no point in leaving it for 6 months and then trying to address something that the habit you started 6.5 months ago or whatever. We've got to try and look at the behavior in your business and your activity and really correct anything that needs to happen. So that's very much the ongoing side of it. So, I think there's very much, there's corporate, where you'll be trained like I'm doing with my franchise general contractors when they kick off. And of course, and the ongoing, which goes with that. But there's also the personal side of it. So you've heard me say it. I've said it in this show already. The more you learn, the more you earn. Leaders are readers. The speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. And so if you're wanting to own and operate a $5-10 million business, then you've got to be the human that you've got to develop or be on the road to becoming that human that leads a $5 to $10 million business. Because today if you're doing $1 million or 500,000 or 1.5, you're not the human, you're not the person, you don't have the skills that you're required to run a $10 million business. And so this is why it's not just Max, teach me, but there's got to be an element of commitment and diligence and sort of focus on, okay, I've got to develop personally as well. And so, you can make the decision to change. It's like, right, I'm going to be a better general contractor. But then what you've got to do is you've got to then make decisions. You've got to make choices along the way to back up the decision. And I've talked about this before, where your actions and activities don't map to the narrative that you're puking out of your mouth. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to build a big business. And yet you're only working 4 days a week, and there's nothing wrong with a 4-day week. But you're not really committed, especially if you're a startup, right? You should be working 8 hours a day. You should be thinking about it all the time. And some people will puke at me. They're like, well, I don't want my business to own me. Well, then you won't then be happy with what you've got, because you can't have that kind of freedom and lifestyle during a startup phase to building a $10 million business. It just doesn't exist. Anyone that's got a massively successful business would have worked their faces off in the first 5 years. There is absolutely no question. So you've got to make sure that you do, when you make that decision to go, that you then make daily choices along the way that support that ultimate decision. So really just to back up the education side of things, I want to run a few books by you, because, I've always been fairly light and easy. I know for me, on my boardroom table and in around this office, there's 50 plus books that I've personally read. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly introduce you to a couple of books that's going to help you develop as a person. Now, what you'll notice for those guys on YouTube, which you won't be able to see this, but there's a whole bunch of red pens marks as I literally read with a pen in my hand. And more recently, I've definitely fallen in love with Audible and getting audio books. So I'm a big subscriber to that. But I need to encourage you to take the time out to read. Now, don't be the person that says, well, I read a whole book and then I can't remember anything. I want you to trust your level of subconsciousness, that over time, that as you read it, the words do sink in. Now, I'm not saying that you can go and recite the whole book, but I'm saying there is concepts and things that hit you hard. Now, the system that I use nowadays is I listen to a lot of different podcasts, and I watch a lot of different videos and things, and they recommend certain pieces of literature or book, and I will go and purchase that on Audible, and then I'll listen to it. And if I really like the book, I'll go and buy the hard copy. And I've got several examples here of that. So John Maxwell is someone that I'm part of his training and mentoring group as well as a student. And this book, Developing the Leader Within You, is certainly one that's a powerful book as it relates to you as a person and developing in your ability to lead others. And so that's one I'd recommend, Developing the Leader Within You by John Maxwell. The other one I've got here by Stephen Covey. Again, you can see, if you're on YouTube, you can see there's Post-it notes hanging out of this sucker. And there's notes that I've made. I've got business cards in there noting where I'm up to. And so this 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we're talking about becoming a better person, a better operator, a better business owner, a better leader. And so there's habits that we need to develop within our business, within our personal lives, to enable us and to give us the capability to develop into the leader that we need to be. And so we need to develop in the right habits. I talked before about content marketing. This is a book by Joe Polizzi, and it's about content marketing. It is a book that I first heard about on a podcast. I then went and listened to his audiobook, and because he made reference to a lot of diagrams and charts and metrics gathering systems and stuff, I needed to see the hard copy. So I've since bought that. So that's Epic Content Marketing, 2nd edition by Joe Polizzi. Now, this is one that I would recommend you read. It's called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. Again, I've listened to the audio book, and then I purchased a hard copy. And, if you're going to come on as a business coach and or a franchise general contractor with me, then this is one of the books that you're going to need to read, because simply the habits that are contained, or the systems that are contained within this book, is what we talk about when we're talking about 21 Silver Bullets. Now, that is kind of, reading this book is kind of like, I'm going to compare these two books, because the next book I've got is Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. This one here, I'm sorry that you're not getting this in podcast land, so I'll try and sell it the right way. But the Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish is like a bachelor, and the Scaling Up by Vern Harnish is like the masters. So, really, I think if you just got amongst the Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, and then at some point in the future you got across the Scaling Up, that'd be a great way to do it. So there are a couple of the educational resources that I would recommend. Guys, hit me up on email and say, hey, what books do you recommend? So there you have it. Okay, the last thing, and we're going to close out here because we've been banging on for a little bit, is accountability. This is what coaches do. They make me and you as players or people that are involved, in a game, and the game of business is what we're involved with. We need that accountability. We need, so when I'm dealing with my clients or my franchised operators, I'm asking them to bring, some sort of result to me. Like, we aren't going to sit on a call for 60 minutes and me give you a list of 3 or 4 things that you need to do to improve your business this week, and we get back together next week and you don't have them done. That's not really going to work out. That's not going to work out for you and me in the long term. So the habit is that if I, ask you of something, I'm going to make you accountable for that which I ask you. And we've got software where we meet. It's a meeting point. The software program that we use is a meeting point, and we talk about everything from strategic plans to org charts, to any issues you're having, to-dos, your to-do for your weeklies, which is where we're putting these dot points. It's about accountability. Is like, well, you said you were, so do what you say you are going to do. That's really what it comes down to. And I see this, in the general contracting community, that we make promises up front to tickle the ears of the clients, and then we don't actually deliver down the track. And that's an indictment against you and me as operators if we do that. Now, if you follow through, and my saying is we start well and we finish strong. And so if you're starting well and you're finishing weak, then you've got an issue. And you might not think you've got an issue until I put my finger into that pain point and go, bro or broette, you've started really well and you've got some shit happening. It's really good, but you're not finishing well. And it's because of this, this, and this. Now, you're going to take offense to that because you're like, who's this guy think he can tell me what to do? I'm a big boy. You're not the boss of me. But, this is what it's all about. There's not LeBron needs a coach. Every one of these athletes are going to have a personal trainer, a coach. Like, it's just like, why does Gary Vaynerchuk go out and bring on a full-time trainer or coach? Because he's not disciplined to go and do it. He'll find, I'm the same. Like, I'm like, yeah, I need to go get in that, gym and do the treadmill thing. I'd rather just go down and shoot a podcast. We need to be accountable to someone, because here's the deal. I will let myself down because I don't affect anybody else. If I say I'm going to, go to the gym now and I don't, well, who have I upset? Nobody. But if I tell you, because you're my trainer, that we're going to meet at the gym at 6 o'clock every other day during the week, I'm not going to let you down, because I just can't do it. I'm like, I've given you my word and I'm going to be there and we're going to follow through. So it's the follow through. It's starting well, finishing strong. And so that's really a high level, assessment on what accountability is. But really what it comes down to is these 4 things. And I just quickly pumped these out this morning, just as I was, contemplating, shooting this podcast. And that is, accountability is about caring. I can be charged with over-caring sometimes, and I really do, because I am straight down the line, and I really want the best for all of my general contractors in Smith & Sons and in, my clients with Elite Business, and I just want the best. And so I tend to be, my dad used to say to me, son, your message is good, but your delivery is wrong. And so, or it's too harsh, or it's too, so I've had to try and work on areas where I was misunderstood. My intent was pure, but I really did care, because if my guys and my clients are not successful, then really there is no success there for me. And so, it is all rooted in caring. As a coach, that's why we do it, because we care. I'll tell you this, and I know this because I've done over 2 years of podcasting and what I do for a living, I just, you can't go and say, I'm going to be a business coach because I want to make a lot of money. It pulls out of your humanity so much at a high level. You just can't be in there for the money. It's impossible. And really, the reason I sit here now as a professional business coach is because of, all the love and the feedback that I've got, from my audience. And I want to thank you for that. And it really has triggered something in me to go above and beyond just what I do on my day job as a franchisor. And it really comes down to caring, not just here for the coin. So, it's really an interesting position to be as a business coach. The other thing, obviously, accountability is there's community there. So, when you come in, to an environment whereby there is accountability, you immediately have community. So you've got, someone that you're either, you're mentoring or you're coaching under. That in itself is a small community of people. And of course, we've got the the Business for Builders VIP, and we're going to do a little bit more on that. I keep saying that, but I think there's really the opportunity for guys and gals. That Business for Builders VIP Facebook group is not about me throwing down more content, although I'm happy to do that. And if you want some of that, hit that friggin' place. Join if you're a good sort. I'll let you in. And if you've got a question, you want some content, hit me up. I'm not just going to go and put content out for putting out content's sake. I've kind of got a day job and a company to run. But I want you guys, there's a few guys that have said, hey, about vehicle wraps and site signage and shit like that. That's what that community's all about. It's you guys hear about the B4B, VIP Facebook group, get in there and start talking to each other, right? And if I find out there's a little bit of, chit-chat going on about a certain subject matter where there's some question, then I'm going to go, that's what the community needs, so I'm going to speak to that. That's the idea behind that. It's not just a library of resource where I'm just going to go in there and just shoot my mouth off. I'm not going to do that. This is where I do that. So I hope you're enjoying it. So that's the importance of community under the umbrella of accountability. And of course, the other thing which that segues straight into is collaboration. There's no question that some of you guys, are great construction operatives, but you're just really ordinary business. You just don't want to go out there and maybe do sales. And yet there's other builders in that group that might go, hey, I'm in your area. Let's catch up for a beer or a coffee or whatever, and let's just talk about maybe merging the two businesses. I don't know. I would tread very carefully in that regard. But we've got to have that awareness that says I'm never going to build a business. I need someone to help me in the sales and the business management side of things, and I've seen it where it does work in that regard. And then of course the last one, which is probably the least nicest one here, is correction. So we've got caring. This is a part of accountability. Caring, community, collaboration, and correction is the last one. I'm going to finish on this. And so, there is definitely a part of me as a coach, a business coach, where I've got to step in and go, hang on a minute, that you didn't put that together properly. This is our systemized approach. And I often refer to what we do in our systems where to hit the end goal that is appropriate, or that's our target. It's important that we go through all of the gates. So if you've ever driven on a massive farm, I know my heritage, we had a 3,000 acre, sheep and wheat farm in Western Australia. That was where it all started. And, you can travel for miles and miles and miles, and you're going to have to go through a lot of gates to get there. And you've got to get out, open the gate, drive through, shut the gate, get going again. And so, for me, in my business building side, it's very much the same. If you try and go round a gate, it's not going to work. Odds on is you'll hit a fence. And so, I think sometimes we've got to understand that, I'm going to make corrections, or I'm going to bring your attention to certain aspects within your business. Now, if your ego's too high, you're not going to take on board that correction. Now, that is a red flag to me as a coach, as a business coach. It's like, okay, I'm not getting through to this guy. It's not up to me to get through to this guy or gal. Just by the way, if I present something and it's rejected, and I've had a guy in this boardroom who says, Max, you don't understand. I can't do that. And it's like, you got no choice, bro, because if you don't, you're going to go broke. Like, that's what it comes down to. And so this is the one of the joys of being a business coach, is that you do have to butt heads a little bit, because sometimes I've got to try and shock people into understanding that they are blind. You wouldn't jump in a motor car with a blindfold on and try and drive down the road. That's hilarious. You wouldn't do it. Pilots, they rely on their telemetry. They rely on their dashboard. They look at their altimeters and they look at their wind speed and all of that. And that's what they rely on, so they don't cock it up and end up in the ground. And so, we have got to be careful that we don't go, yeah, Max, I want to be, one of your clients. And then we get into our first meeting. You're like, yeah, I know. No, I know that. Yeah, no, that's not my problem. And I'm sitting there just going, I'm going to fire you as a client, bro. And so, we just got to be, I just beg of you to make sure that your ego's checked at the door and you've got a high level of humility, because everything that has got you to where you are today. Are you happy with where you arrived today? Yes or no? And if it's a no, then it's like, okay, I got two ears and one mouth. I probably just need to just take a look around and figure out where I've gone wrong and listen to someone who might know a little bit more than I, only because maybe I've walked the track a little longer than you. Execution is the game. not just the idea like, hey, I need to change. There's an idea. There's a good idea. I should change. And then if we get out amongst it and we're requesting that you actually execute off the back of that initiative and you don't, well, that's why that execution is the game. Speed over perfection. Those kinds of things. When, for me, selling franchises 5 years ago, I knew nothing. I got very little advice and input. I had to go and figure it out. I knew I was good at selling, but I had to figure out my way through. And I did it with very little coaching. And so I want to help you short circuit or shortcut your track to success. You're still going to have to lift a weight. There's no question. You're never going to get around that. So I'd be encourage you to think about the level of awareness that you currently have. I would really, impose upon you that education is a prerequisite to success. There's no question. And that start embracing accountability and having someone that calls you to account for the actions and activities that you've done this week and this month as it relates to the business production and the business development side of your business. And I'm telling you, life will get better. And it'll feel like you go into a level of chaos first, but I'm telling you, then you'll move into control and life is going to be freaking awesome for you and your family. And I really do wish that upon you. So don't forget, hit me up on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca. Don't forget to go to elitebusinessadvisory.com to get a hold of the cell number that's on that website, and that is my WhatsApp number. If you want a quick call, I would suggest you send me a message on WhatsApp first. Shoot me a message, go, Max, it's such and such. Give me a story in writing first, and then maybe we'll set up a bit of a quick call on WhatsApp. And it's great. I was talking to a guy in New Zealand, like I said, on Sunday, and it was like he was just, across town. It was friggin' awesome. So I really want you to get access. I am nobody special, folks. I think my biggest secret is that I work my face off. I'm very diligent in my education, and I'm consistent as the day is long. And so, of course, get across to Business for Builders, a VIP Facebook group. Get in there because there's people that care about the business success of themselves and others. There's a great community. There's great collaboration. And of course, if you want to talk to me about, what's involved and we want to do a quick strategy breakdown session on your business and where you're up to, book a 30-minute video call with me. Love to catch up with you. And then we can talk about going to a complimentary coaching session after that. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about your biz dev journey and would love to walk that journey with you. So don't be shy. Reach out. It's all about community. And you have a great week. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Cheers.